Football at first sight is just a simple sport. You score more goals than your opponent and you win. But there are some instances where we all start to question our reality and if there's more than what the eye can see. Since today it's Halloween, I decided to show you all the scariest football stories of all time. But be warned, because these real haunted stories will give you the chills, especially the last one. So sit down, turn the lights off, and let's get right to it. Number 10. Haunted St. Mary's Stadium. In 2001, Southampton moved to a new stadium. They invested £32 million into its construction and doubled their total capacity to over 30,000 people. For what they got, it was a good price, but there was one catch. The Saints had built their new home on top of a graveyard. And in the beginning of their first season playing there, they got off to a terrible start, registering only 2 league wins in their first 12 matches. Everybody was scared, so much so that Southampton decided to call a witch to get rid of the spirits, and just like that, everything went back to normal, and despite the awful start, the Saints managed to stay up. Number 9. The Curse of the Seven Cats. For this story, we have to travel back in time to Argentina in 1967. This period marked the best years of Racing Club, where they won the Copa Libertadores and the Intercontinental Cup. But while every Racing fan was celebrating, their rivals Independiente were furious and decided to cast a spell on their enemies. So they took advantage of the distractions from the parties going on around town, snuck onto the stadium and buried 7 dead cats on the pitch. And somehow that curse was extremely effective, as with each passing year, Racing regressed more and more, until in 1983 they were finally relegated. However, their bad luck did not stop there, as just a couple of years later the club would declare bankruptcy. By that point, everyone knew about the curse, and the fans even joined efforts to remove the cats, but they only found 6 out of the 7 bodies. The missing cat would only be found in 2001 during stadium renovations, and guess what happened later in the year? Racing were crowned champions of Argentina 35 years later. Number 8. The Goal of Death. This story is by far the most tragic in this video, and it happened in the grandest stage possible. In 1994, Colombia were seen as favorites to get past the World Cup group stage. However, their campaign was extremely disappointing and their elimination was sealed with his own goal by Andrés Escobar. Not every Colombian was mad at Escobar, but while he was trying to unwind in a local bar, 2 drug dealers started harassing him. The argument got really heated, and to avoid conflict, Escobar decided to leave, but the drug dealer's bodyguard was so furious at him that he shot him 6 times. He died on the spot at just 27 years old. Perhaps even more tragic was that he was engaged and was about to sign with AC Milan. Number 7. Barcelona's Haunted Mansion. After an underwhelming return to Barcelona, Fabregas decided to buy a mansion, but he wouldn't live there for long, since just a couple of months after, he would leave for Chelsea. With his departure, the Owls found a new owner, Thomas Vermaelen, who joined the club as one of the options to replace the legendary Carles Puyol, but his spell in Catalonia would be marked by injuries, and similarly to Fabregas, he never managed to grab a spot in the starting 11. But the curse doesn't stop there. After Vermaelen was sent out on loan to Roma, André Gomes was the one to occupy the flop mansion, and as you can imagine, he also became a laughingstock among Barca fans. Following Gomes' departure for Everton, Coutinho moved to that mansion and everyone hoped the former Liverpool star broke the curse. But unfortunately, he only made it more popular, as he became perhaps the worst Barca signing of all time that alongside the Dembele transfer doomed the club financially and indirectly caused Messi to leave. But at least they finally learned their lesson and no player occupies that house anymore. Number 6. The Execution Arena. In Bangladesh, there's a football arena called the Ghazi Stadium, and as far as the records are concerned, this stadium holds the record for the most murders happening inside of it. Not because any players out on the pitch, or due to any fan violence, but because this stadium was a center zone for public executions by the Taliban during the 1990s. To make it worse, not only were they executed like you see on TV, kneeling before getting their heads chopped off, but there were also some instances where their arms and legs were hung from the goalposts for everyone to see. Although that no longer happens, the locals say that you can still hear the dead screaming at night close to the stadium. Number 5. Chelsea's Smiling Man. This one is quite odd. According to many Chelsea fans, when you visit the Stamford Bridge, there's a possibility that you might encounter a thin, smiling figure that appears and disappears out of nowhere. Some people say that seeing him means that something good will happen to you, while others say that you never know what fortune the smiling man will bring you, and the best thing you can do is, if you feel that somebody's watching you in that stadium, don't look back, no matter what. Number 4. Australia's reverse witchcraft. Back in 1969, the Australian national team was on the verge of qualifying to the World Cup, but after drawing against Zimbabwe twice, the Australians went to a witch doctor in order to help their chances. He then planted some bones in the opponent's goalposts and the Australians won the match. But the problem was that the then amateur Australians had no money to pay the witch, so the voodoo specialist reversed the curse, supposedly causing the Australians to miss a 1970 World Cup. Although they would make it to the next edition in 1974, the Socceroos failed to register a single goal and were eliminated in the group stage. 31 years passed, and they have failed to qualify every single time, until a TV show host called John Safran decided to help his national team and found another witch willing to reverse the curse. Safran and the captain from the 1969 team, Johnny Warren, made the trip to Mozambique, got splattered with chicken blood, and took clay baths in hopes to reverse the curse. And it actually worked, since 1 year later the Australians qualified to their second ever World Cup and haven't missed a single edition ever since. Number 3. The Bela Gutmann curse. This one is perhaps the most famous curse in football history and it's still going on to this day. Bela Gutmann was a legendary journeyman manager who took over Benfica in 1959. Not only did he discover Eusébio, but he also catapulted Benfica to a whole other level, dominating the Portuguese league and winning 2 consecutive European Cups. After achieving such a remarkable feat, Gutmann asked for a pay rise, but he was denied. He felt so insulted and disrespected that he decided to leave the club, but not without cursing it first. Not in 100 years from now will Benfica ever be European champion. Long after his death, the curse is still alive and Benfica has lost 8 European finals, not winning a single piece of international silverware since his departure. But unlike the other curses, this one can't be reversed. It is said that Eusébio kneeled before Gutmann's grave and asked for forgiveness in 1990, but it didn't matter and Benfica still lost that year's European Cup final. I guess we'll just have to wait until 2062. Number 2. The Ramsey curse. Aaron Ramsey isn't exactly a prolific goal scorer, but when he does score a goal, you know tragedy is about to strike. Almost 30 of his career goals were followed by the tragic death of a celebrity, and it's still a phenomenon that goes on to this day. Osama bin Laden, Steve Jobs, Robin Williams are all famous people who died hours after one of his goals, with one of the most recent cases being the death of Steve Harwell, Smash Mouth's lead singer, just a couple of days after his goal against Ipswich Town back in September. Number 1. Congo's lightning strike. Back in 1998, Ben Achadi were drawing 1-1 with visitors Basanga when a bolt from the sky struck them. 11 people died that day and 30 were injured, including players and spectators. But curiously, every Basanga athlete came out of the incident completely fine. To this day, many people believe that what happened that day was much more than just a simple weather phenomenon. Since witchcraft is pretty common in that region of Africa, some suspect that the Ben Achadi players had fallen victim to a curse. And since there was a civil war going on at the time, no further evidence was retrieved, which will forever keep this story as one of football's greatest mysteries. And that is it for the video. Leave your own haunted football stories in the comments and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as it really helps me grow this channel in this initial stage. As always, thank you for watching until the end, I appreciate you and I will see you soon.